1909, a penny could buy you the latest edition of the New York Times Magazine. What can a penny buy you today?
Nothing.
Nothing, exactly. In fact, millions of Americans walk by hundreds of pennies every day in the street, and they don't bother picking up because it's not worth the time or the money. To test this, I placed a penny here at Mobap on Wednesday, and when I walked in, guess what I found? No one had picked it up because it's simply not worth your time.
So clever.
That's pretty cool.
I believe that we should stop producing pennies because pennies have limited utility and they have extremely high production costs. Of course, the penny was not the first coin. The first coin originated around 600 BC, and since then the use of coin as currency skyrocketed. In 1792, the penny became the first currency established by the Mint Act, and the original design of the penny was depicted of Lady Liberty with flowing hair and on the back a wreath. It was later in 1909 when we changed it to the iconic image of Abraham Lincoln that's still being used today. Now, back in the day when pennies actually had value, they were useful for sodas and candies. You could buy movie tickets or a carnival ride. And today, vending machines and arcade games don't even accept pennies because it's not worth carrying that little denomination. In addition to this, 66 to 74% of pennies that are produced get lost from circulation. The 2014 annual Mint report stated that of the 4 billion pennies they had made, almost 3 billion of them had been lost from circulation due to misplacement or just leaving behind change somewhere. Another reason that the penny has lost value is because of high inflation prices. As of March of 2022, inflation is up to 8.5%, which means that prices are high and the value of money, especially pennies, is very low. In short, due to these rising prices and high inflation, the penny just doesn't have the same value it once did in our economy. And not only that, the U.S. Mint is losing money by producing pennies. The average penny costs around 2 cents to make. 2 cents when the penny is worth 1 cent. That means for every penny that we make, we are actually putting the Mint in a deficit. And the 2021 annual Mint report stated that they had lost $84 million by producing pennies. They lost $84 million to produce a coin that nobody really uses, which doesn't make much sense. In addition to that, taxpayer money also goes to the Mint, which produces the pennies. And the annual report stated that $145 million of taxpayer money was going to producing pennies. Again, that is losing money and we don't even use. Dealing with pennies also wastes time. A study done by Walgreens and the National Association of Convenience Stores found that dealing with pennies at the end of a cash transaction can add as much to 3 seconds to a transaction. And a U.S. federal payment study found that there's about 170 billion cash transactions per year. That adds up to a total of like 60 million hours of wasted time for the customer and the store employee. Now, it may seem like a huge thing to try to get rid of a denomination of coin, but it's really not. In fact, the U.S. is one of the last westernized countries to still have a denomination as low as a penny. Countries such as France, New Zealand, Australia, and recently Canada in 2012 have all eliminated their lowest denomination, which would be equal to our value as a penny. And instead, they allow their lowest coin denomination to still be used as a legal tender, but they just stop producing them. So why do we still have pennies? Well, the main proponents of pennies, surprise, surprise, are zinc lobbyists. Pennies are mainly comprised of zinc with a bit of copper on the outside, so if pennies were to stop being produced, the zinc companies would lose a lot of profit. Another common argument for pennies is that if we were to get rid of pennies, we would be disrespecting Abe Lincoln. But considering all the pennies that are left on the ground and dirty, I believe that that is not an issue, and he's also on our $5 bill, which is not going anywhere anytime soon. Many people also have concerns about what do we do about exact change if we got rid of pennies. But there's a simple solution to that. Round into the nearest nickel. If it's 2 cents or less, round down, and if it's 3 cents or more, round up. People have concerns with this, thinking that businesses or customers might lose or gain more money. But an economist and professor, Robert Raples, conducted a study, and he found that the final digit in a sales transaction is completely random. So at the end of the day, customers and businesses are gaining and losing about an equal amount, and they cancel each other out, so no one is really gaining or losing anything. In fact, Canada uses this rounding system, and the US military overseas bases have been using this nickel rounding system since 1980s. They don't do pennies overseas, so why do we do pennies here? I believe that the penny has outlived its usefulness and is draining our pockets and the profits of the mint. The penny has lived a good and long life, but like all good things, it must come to an end.
That was interesting.